Good morning. Something is very off about what happened with the Blackhawk helicopter and the American Airlines flight in D.C. just a couple of days ago. New evidence has come out that the pilot might be a pilot named Joe Ellis, trans person. I did a deep dive into Joe Ellis and everything that's going on, and we're going to try to back up some evidence because a lot of us have asked questions that have gone unanswered about these questions. Who is the pilot of the Blackhawk helicopter, and why did it seem like the helicopter was going right for the jet? It makes no sense. Someone highly trained with 5,000 air flight practice hours making that decision. What happened? Was it a murder suicide? What was it? And who is this person? We're gonna get into it. Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show.
Let's go.
Let's go, late and let the world
trust the government.
She sent in a little video for us. Oh. Here she is.
Hey, in spite of everything you've heard, and let me just make sure you all know that it's actually me. Say it's me.
Anti-woke.
Anti-woke?
suck on this, Biden.
Would we the all our
What's up, guys? What's up, Jacobet? How are you guys feeling this lovely freaking Friday where we made it to the end of the week? All of us have been asking this question, though. There's something about this crash that seems incredibly off. This seems incredibly weird. How could some kind of freak accident happen? Is it the DEI that's been pushed for these FAA flight controllers? Who is to blame? Who is to blame? Even myself, I've been trying to figure out what's going on. I'm trying to hold back on conspiracy theories because I want to make sure the information that's coming out is coming out. Now, the information we know about this new pilot is very, very conspiratorial in sense where there's not a lot of real, authentic news sources. But isn't that how it always starts out, though? Something gets leaked and a few meme accounts jump on it, and then it slowly makes its way to the mainstream narrative. Because they want to carefully control the story. They don't want you to jump to conclusions. And once you find out who this pilot is, I feel like we'll have more information on who this pilot is and maybe the reasons why it actually happened. So a Blackhawk helicopter collided mid-air with a passenger jet over Washington, D.C., leaving 68 people freaking dead. The pilot apparently is this pilot named Joe Ellis, a transgender military officer who one day before the crash just recently went on a podcast and started ranting about Donald Trump's trans military ban. Now, I listened to this podcast this morning because I'm a sick freak, okay? I take my time with this stuff. I want to make sure that I'm not just spitting crap to you guys. I listened to the podcast, and the podcast, you can tell that Joe is very nervous about the new policies coming down from Donald Trump. Very nervous about Joe's career, what that's going to look like in the future. Just wants to serve the country, doesn't want to make it about trans thing, but very nervous in a sense, and wrote an article based on that podcast as well shortly after that. It's all breaking down online right now. So was this an attack? Was this a murder-suicide? Was this an accident? Get in the comments below. Please let me know what your thoughts on everything that's going on. Here's what we know. So I've gone on and did a deep dive this morning, and everyone is saying that has accounts on X now, so take it with a grain of salt. Okay, just take it with a grain of salt, though it still could be true. There's always those people that are like, oh, you get your information on X, that's not a real news source. You're like, it kind of is at this point. So now we're finding out the pilot's name is Joe Ellis, a transgender woman, and so everyone is jumping to conclusions, including myself, because you wonder, what is going on? How did that happen? How did somebody with experience go right into the plane like that when they were told to just use their eyes to navigate. I mean, you can see these things going on. A lot of people are saying that Joe or whoever the pilot was saw the wrong plane and didn't notice the plane that was coming straight down. So all these accounts are kind of posting about Joe Ellis right now. Some of the major accounts that jump on information quickly, and a lot of these accounts as well jump on information quickly and then immediately delete the information once it becomes wrong. And so that is always my biggest gripe. So take some time with this one. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't tell your whole family that it has to be this. Just keep it in the back of your mind. I always recommend with any kind of conspiracy theories, don't throw them out. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but take your time with this one. Think about this one. So Matt Wallace is one of them. A transgender Blackhawk helicopter pilot from the military wrote a long letter about gender dysphoria and depression one day before the fatal crash. And we have that letter here as well. Living to serve, living as myself, a transgender service member's perspective. And in this memo, it's just talking about having symptoms of gender dysphoria since Joe was 5 years old. I learned to hide these symptoms, my family, because I meant it was a bad person. Because apparently, of course, Joe grew up in a religious conservative household. It's always that's the emotional pull with so many of these stories. I grew up in a religious and conservative household, therefore I have to be trans. I was homeschooled for 2 years of my K through 12 education. I consider myself a conservative until 2016. I'm religious today. What does that even mean? I'm religious. I just believe in all religions equally. We're all looking for God somewhere up in the sphere. I've had symptoms of gender dysphoria since I was 5 years old. I learned to hide the symptoms from my family because I thought it meant I was a bad person. This led to a healthy and not so healthy coping mechanisms. I thought it could be more religious, more successful, more manly that would cure my condition. Joe got married, this is a whole breakdown of everything that's going on. Apparently, the question is always did the military pay for the trans-related care? Apparently, Joe paid for it, Joe's self. The military hasn't covered any of it. I recently went facial feminization surgery and was non-deployable for 6 weeks. This is considered an elective surgery, not deemed medically necessary for transitions similar to those who get a nose job. Since my part of the military, I had to be balanced with military obligations while working full-time as a private sector. When I'm called for service, I make less money than I do in the private sector. I say this with stress. So we are just finding out more and more about this person. No longer coexisting 100%. Violet says, according to the L, this is false, and this person has a social account saying they're alive. I don't know, just saying it this morning. That's what I'm saying. Take this with a grain of salt, Violet. People are posting this everywhere. This person is a Blackhawk helicopter pilot. This person is located in the DC area, but we're not totally sure. But everyone online is kind of jumping to conclusions right now. And my whole thing is to try to cut through the noise. I do this with my own family, My own family will send me things and I'll think, let me look into that before I have to make a decision if that's true or not. So it's important to at least hold this information to see if it's true. Because people are just saying these things. I'm reading the pilot wasn't actually a woman, a trans woman identified. And so everyone is kind of saying this. And I try to look online to see if there was any, decent publications. Who is Joe Ellis, trans Blackhawk pilot wrongly named in the DC crash, says Newsweek just 18 minutes ago. So if you are, again, Newsweek isn't the most credible. So Newsweek could be wrong. But some people are posting it is, and some people are posting that it isn't. So take it with a grain of salt. Trans pilot Joe rumored to be Blackhawk pilot in fatal collision over the Potomac River. Living to serve, serving as myself. This is Joe's article. And then I recently also listened to this 20-minute interview online.
Welcome to the Smirconish podcast.
Smirconish. Pew, 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 pew.
Joe Ellis has served 15 years in the Virginia Army National Guard.
What's up, Joe?
Her current rank and job
we won't
title
listen to the whole
is
thing, don't
Chief Warrant Officer 2.
They're all rabid.
UH-60 Blackhawk pilot.
You're still not
she
getting
has served
over
in
any
combat
ovaries.
zones in Iraq and other operations overseas.
So in this long interview, this audio interview, you have this guy interviewing Joe Ellis, and Joe Ellis is very nervous about Donald Trump's new policies coming down the pipe, is worried that Joe is not going to be longer going to be able to serve, all these sorts of things. So then it creates a narrative for all of us in our head of, is this person doing it on purpose? Now, is this person so... Because you meet a lot of these leftists that actually believe that Donald Trump is going to kill them or get rid of them or put them in a camp somewhere, or like they have to fear for their lives, whatever, you fill in the blank. So it creates such a heightened sense of paranoia that a lot of people are willing to do horrific acts because they're scared of their lives, and they also want to send a message of some sort. Now we have this new angle from the crash right here.
These videos, obtained exclusively by CNN, show previously unseen angles of the collision between an American Airlines flight and a US Army Blackhawk helicopter. In the first video, the Blackhawk can be seen flying at speed over the Potomac from the left side of the screen. The American Airlines plane can be seen flying towards the airport before the two collide, causing a mid-air explosion and fall into the river.
It's crazy.
In the second video, you can see the Army helicopter and American Airlines plane travel toward each other. After the collision and subsequent explosion, the airliner can be seen spinning into the water, and the Black Hawk is also seen falling into the water.
So that's our newly exclusive look of what actually happened, which is huge. Now, keep in context of everything that's going on. Donald Trump, remember, is getting rid of all DEI programs in observation of even Pride Month, among others. Now, if you're in the trans community, you're in the LGBTQ community, this is seen as like a direct attack. This is like you're literally silencing me and getting rid of me. No, so Donald Trump's getting rid of DEI. The agency is working internally with the department to implement the executive orders ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferencing initial recessions of harmful executive orders and actions dated January 20th, 2025. We are receiving questions of the workforce, blah, 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 blah. DIA will pause all activities related to agency's special emphasis programs effectively until further notice. Additionally, the special observances hosted throughout the year and the commandment. So there's no longer all these. So it's not affecting federal holidays. It's going to affect like Pride Month and stuff like that. Now, what is your thoughts on what we just talked about? I am not totally convinced on this pilot from everything I'm reading. I'm only seeing it from like meme accounts and people that have a history of posting false information, but we don't know for sure. And that's the big thing. This is how conspiracy theories are born, because we find out we get a manifesto about somebody that shoots up a school immediately if they fit a certain profile. But if it's somebody else's profile or they could deem sensitive, they immediately hide that information and don't bring it out. Why don't we know who these pilots are? Why don't we know who the pilot is at all? Like, we don't know anything. And so it makes you wonder, especially if you're a part of this side of the aisle, because if it is this pilot, then it makes sense why they're hiding it. And it makes sense that this could potentially be a murder-suicide due to the fact that Donald Trump's DEI and how trans people are viewing the world right now, where they feel like their lives are being threatened, so they're willing to do anything. When you have that level of paranoia in your life, you will do really, really stupid stuff that makes completely illogical and irrational stuff. And it's scary. So, I mean, you have it right here. Let me see what you guys are saying. Has the administration posted the flight manifests? I haven't seen it. You would barely have time to scream and even process what is happening. Oh, when the crash happened? 100%. 100%. Especially as you're on your way down. You're on that short landing or whatever it's called. Short in whatever. I mean, you're getting ready. You're taking you're cutting your cell phone back on. You're getting ready to land. You just had an exhausting flight. A lot of these kids just had a crazy tournament they just went through, so they're exhausted. They're excited to probably go home to see their families again, and then it just, boom, happens like that. Justin says, maybe they thought the trans could do the work of two because she was both genders. Yeah. They said that there was three. They said that was three military people on the helicopter. It was just two. But one person identified as two. I like that, Justin. That's funny. Disco Puss says, no, 2 of the 3 heli crew have been identified. Well, exactly. Who's the other? The media needs to be held accountable for inciting these insane fear all around. I totally agree. The amount of fear, not even like trans people, but people that are friends with trans people, which I always take with a grain of salt. Like, I have friends that are scared. And you're like, who is your friends? They're people I've talked to in the coffee shop. And you're like, that's not your friend. But people are running around with so much paranoia these days, and it's encouraged to have paranoia because it's my lived experience. And that's such a dangerous thing for people to even consider as more truth than the actual truth. My lived experience is more real to me than it's like, you can be wrong. There have been many times in my life where my lived experience was actually wrong, and it was just me creating narratives in my head that weren't true. It happens all the time. I don't know if there's anybody been married in the chat. It happens all the time. That's what most married fights broke down to. The media needs to be held accountable for inciting this insane fear all around. I'm tired of seeing people so upset. The derangement is never going away otherwise, 100%. Well, why would it? And if the media can capitalize off of derangement and paranoia, they're going to. You know, like I've said before, we make fun of Gen Z, like doing TikTok dances on fires or dead people's bodies and stuff like that. The media does the same thing. They're just as bad. Disco Plus says the pilot is still unidentified, which is usually due to contacting the family first. But how long does it take to contact the family, Disco? How long does that take? A few days? Really? I don't know. What if maybe that pilot didn't have any family? I don't know. Like, everything about this story is weird. Everything about what we're learning about this story is weird. The fact that in the tower, there was one person doing 2 people's jobs, so therefore they were overwhelmed and overworked, and it was such a freak thing that they even had one person doing 2 persons' jobs that night is crazy. If this is actually true, this even makes the rabbit hole go further down. And I always say this too, be careful of these accounts who are saying this as matter of fact. Be careful. Don't trust those people. Those people are not in your best interest. Those people are the people that will kind of confirmation bias. I'll tell you what you want to hear, and then you can create the narrative for yourself because it's all BS and it all makes sense. I don't know. Thank you. Who just clapped for me? Hey, it's not funny. All right, guys, I'm going to work. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Enjoy your Friday, and make sure to tell your boss that the pilot was 100% trans, and you know for a fact it is. In fact, some meme accounts said it so. Like trustworthy sources like The General, Sean Frashashash, April Sugar Magnolia. What does she have? She's got an American flag in her profile pic. So I trust it. And she's showing some cleavage. So she needs to have as many followers as possible. And Dr. Dina, I trust Dr. Dina. And Matt Wallace. So all the most trustworthy news sources. Okay. Jacobed said, enjoy work. I got to go deal with lawyers. Want to swap? No, never. Do you work with a law firm or are you just in trouble with the law? I trust people like you and Elle because you have morals. Thanks. I like Elle. I wish Elle and I could do some content together. I like her a lot. All right, guys. Have a wonderful day. Peace out, guys. Is it trans? Is it not? I just I don't know. If it is trans and the DEI stuff, it makes sense, doesn't it? And that's the thing. That's why people will go down the rabbit hole, because it makes sense in our own narrative of our own mind. Have a great day. Timmer, I love you. Justin, love you. Violet, love you. Disco Plus, you okay? You're okay.